I think one of the most exciting things about my generation is that we got to smoke cigarettes. And we knew it was bad for us, but we all decided if we quit at 30, we'll be okay. And that's what we did. And so far, so good. It's worked out. But I know you guys can smoke if you want, but you got to smoke outside. We used to get to smoke inside. And why is that? I know younger people are like, why are these weird old people clapping? It was thrilling. I can't explain it. And if it were back then, I'd be up here now. And it would look iconic. Smoking looks cool. I don't care what anyone says. Babies look cool smoking. The smoke would be swirling around in the lights. Atmospheric. Something important's going on in here. They're smoking. Now, the thing is, maybe it's bad for your memory because I have no fucking clue what I was about to say. No, everyone smoked everywhere indoors. And that's why my mom, never really could find out if I was smoking or not. She'd go, you smell like smoke. I'm like, yeah, I was just at church. She's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I lived in New York City on 9/11, and I lived in New York City the day that they banned smoking indoors, the day Giuliani banned smoking. And I won't tell you which day impacted me more. But on one of those days, my city changed forever. And I am still scarred by what happened. And there are certain buildings that just bring it back for me where I go, but I won't tell you which day. There's something about getting older that, obviously 47 is not old, but there's something about, I guess, more generations starting to pile up under you where you start to feel a little irrelevant, like, oh shit, this is scary, when people don't know of an object that used to exist in your day. And so I'm doing this whole smoking jag on stage one night, and I start to talk about how cars used to come with lighters. And this girl, young girl in the front row, laughed at that, and that's not the punchline. So I stopped to ask her what she thought was funny, because as a comedian who's at work when I'm on stage, I thought, well, if there's something funny that I'm not realizing about it, I'll write it down, I'll do it the next show. And I said, can I just ask you why you thought that was funny? And she goes, oh, it's just, that's like such a lame incentive, a lighter. And I go, I took me a minute, I go, an incentive? I go, oh, no. This isn't like start a bank account, get a toaster. She thought I meant people would buy a car and then the car dealer would throw him a Zippo and go, thanks for your business. And I said, no. Cars used to come with lighters. And she goes, that's what I said. It's a lame incentive. I go, no. And I couldn't explain it because I never thought I'd have to. So I didn't have the language for it. And it's like, I was like, no, cars, lighters inside, part of the car, steering wheel, and I'm panicking now. Radio, lighter, push it in, pull it out, hot coil, do the cigarette, and I'm like, can't breathe. I just stopped the show and be like, all right, I have to show you a picture. And I Googled it and showed her, and she goes, oh, well, what did non-smokers get for cars? And I'm like, oh, sweetie, there weren't non-smokers back. A non-smoker was like a half a pack a day smoker, But driving used to be fun because you put the windows up and you just start smoking, and you push in the lighter. And the lighter was cool. It was unlike lighters that you use, outside of the car. And you open it, and there was this hot coil, and you're driving with your elbow and you try to balance it on your cigarette, and then you just kind of like throw it on the ground next to you and hope it doesn't catch on fire. And the ashtrays were so deep, you never had to empty them. They just sort of, composted. We were very environmental. They just sort of... But what's funny now, though, is if you buy a car, and I know most New Yorkers don't drive, but I'm sure you've seen cars, is if you're in a car now, notice this next time, right under the radio, there's this giant cubby. It's just this empty space. There's maybe like one USB port. That's where the lighter and ashtray used to be. That's where the fun used to be. And I like the idea of a bunch of Gen X car engineers that are making cars and are like, what do we do with the area that used to be an ashtray and a lighter? I don't know, man. I can't put anything there. I want to leave it as like a memorial. Like, let's just leave an empty space, and the people that get it. And I'm 100% sure of that. What really freaked me out was when I tried to get matches from a 21-year-old. That's when I was like, I'll tell you the story. So even though I don't smoke, and I quit, I did used to bum a cigarette about once a year. I don't do it anymore because I want to keep these lungs healthy. I don't know what's fucking out there anymore. But I'm at a bar with some friends. The night ends, I go outside, and I'm in that, like, sort of drunk, want a cigarette mood. There's a guy, he's smoking outside. I bum a cigarette off him. He doesn't have a match or a lighter, but he tries to light this cigarette on the end of mine. For some reason, I don't like that. I like to light my own. I'm like, no problem, dude. I'll just go back in the bar and grab some of the matches from the bowl on the bar, as though it's 1988. And so I go back inside, and I stick my hand in the bowl of matches, and I'm like, ow, ow, ow. And, there's just toothpicks hanging out off of my palms, just bleeding. And I'm like, these aren't matches. It was toothpicks. There were toothpicks in a bowl at the bar. And I never really noticed that before, that's what they put in bowls at bars now. Toothpicks. Like it's the fucking dentist. Why do you need a toothpick at a bar? And I guess you need one to gouge your eye out and go, things used to be fun. But when I was growing up, matches were everywhere. They were in bowls at the dry cleaner, at the library, wherever you went, there were matches, because wherever you went, you were about to light a cigarette. And so I asked the bartender, I said, do you have matches? And he goes, I don't know, let me check. And he leaves the bar area, and he comes back, he goes, have you had that here before? And I said, no, matches, like saying it louder, like, it's what used to be in these bowls, matches. Matches. And he goes, I'll make you one, I just don't know what's in it. And I go, it's not a drink. Matches? And now that thing's happening again. Like, how do I explain this? And I'm just yelling like you do when you're talking to someone who doesn't speak English. Like, maybe they'll understand if I say it louder. I'm like, matches! And he's like, not recognizing the word. And he's like, matches. And I'm going, matches! And I feel like it's like the end of the world, like the apocalypse, and the last two people have found each other, and I'm just trying to communicate something. I'm going, matches! And he's looking at me going, matches. And now he's mirroring me, and we're just doing this Meisner theater technique. I'm like, matches. And he's like, matches. And I just start panicking, and I start acting it out. I'm like, this, and he goes, oh, like the things for camping. I go, yes, the things for camping. And then he just gets real solemn, and he looks at me and he goes, fire. And then he just pulls something like that looks like this out of his pocket, and he goes, no, we vape now. And I was like, we vape now. I felt like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future when he shouldn't have fucked with time travel, and he went back and he saw the photo of himself and he was disappearing. I was like, I'm disappearing. I'm almost extinct. He giggled and said, fire. Like, that must have been something, honey, when it was invented in your day, but we plug in our cigarettes now. But then when I saw his vape, I was at your vape, he said, yeah, I was like, wow, it's really big. It's not that cool looking. Can you imagine, like, think of these iconic pictures of James Dean, right? And he's just like, can you imagine if there were pictures of him and he's just like, tries to roll it up in his sleeve.